don't know why I was caught off guard by my own time. Yeah, I
The
am
best
so
way to
out of it.
start.
My bad. My bad. Okay, I'm here.
We're
Hi,
here live.
everybody.
Hello, hello,
Yes, we
everybody.
are. What's
My
going
name is
on,
Sri.
folks? Charlene
This
here.
is Charlene. I promise we've done lives before. It just happens.
It's been a day. It's been a day. What's up?
Oh.
So, are you ready for tonight, Shri? What have you been up to for the day?
I have been dealing with quite a bit of things, so it has distracted me quite a bit. But before this, I had a live with Valerie on Instagram. So I'm going to give a shout out to that and direct you guys after this live. Check it out on my Instagram page. And then I'm excited for this guest. But before we bring her on, what do you got in your cup?
On my cup, I have a mix today because I think I needed a boost. So I have a little bit of coffee and I have two different hot chocolates. So I'm all excited right now.
What? I
Yes, and it's
have that.
cool.
We got hot chocolate. Boy.
Yeah, Carl.
I
What's in
know.
your cup, sir?
What I really want to know is, aren't you up past your bedtime? I mean, like he's always the one who's like 9:05. I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah, but I told him he better show up tonight. I was like,
Aw,
show up,
thank you so
please.
much.
Thank you.
Well, in all
Yes, yes.
seriousness, this conversation is good evening, Regina. This
Hi, Regina.
conversation is all about get your mind right. Are you costing yourself government contracts? And it has a lot to do with your mindset, especially if you're looking into getting into signing or applying for a government contract, but in your mind, you're sabotaging yourself.
Yes.
So I'm excited for this guest. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Charlene. And hey, Lygia.
Yes. Hey, Ligia. I'm thinking, yes, it's a mindset thing and it can happen for anything, but a lot of times we might psych ourselves out because it's a government contract. So, government people, they're real people. They're people too. So, are we just going above and beyond, kind of over preparing ourselves, psyching ourselves out? So, I'm excited also for our guest because she's going to help us get this together and get our minds set so we can not only build a business using contracts, but build relationships because that's always going to really take us further.
So why don't we go ahead and let everybody know, bring her up. We have Kizzy Parks. She is the
What's
founder of
up?
GovCon Winners. She's an amazing individual. Like I had a chat with her early this morning and she got my mind right. She sent me, and this is kind of like why I wanted to get into this topic because she put a perspective in my mind that I was like, okay, you know what? Sometimes when we view a certain situation and we hear it from a different angle, we start to see the things that we're not seeing. So,
Right.
Kizzy, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and tell us what you're drinking too?
Oh, well, what I'm drinking and a little bit about me. So, I have a clear glass. I'm going to show you all here in a second. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yes.
The tall, clear glass. And I actually have two because you got a double fist. So, I have water, is what I have because I love water so much and probably drink a little over a gallon of water a day.
Mm.
Fun
Mm.
fact, I guess. So I'm in this glorious space of government contracting. And I have been awarded my three companies have been awarded over $50 million in federal contracts. And so I started GovCon Winners to help other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners really understand what it takes because the technical piece is 20%. The mindset is the 80% that's really needed to excel in the federal government contracting space.
Mm.
Nice. That's good to know. That's really good to know, because then it shows that you really can mess it up, or it can be yours to lose or win, every however way you look at it. So why aren't we really making or allowing ourselves to win more contracts? What has been like a number one thing, or the top three things you've noticed that really throws people off, and you can see it where they messed up, where they could have had that and been living nicely, at least with a nice government partner?
Well, this is such a good question. So, kind of digging into those three things, like number one is there's this sense of entitlement that
Mm.
it's, I won the opportunity, therefore I get to dictate how I deliver the services. If I won a janitorial contract, or I won an administration contract, I won some kind of contract for computer parts, I won, so I'm going to dictate. And again, there's this mindset of they should be so lucky that I am their vendor kind of mindset.
Mm.
And so that's not going to work, and doesn't really work very well. Number two is, in this game, in this space of government contracting, a lot of money is around services. So it's people providing some kind of service alongside a federal government counterpart. And so what happens is, in this space, the owner forgets about the value of the person, their team member, or even if it's them providing it. They get lost and don't realize that every single time a team member is providing a service, inspecting, graphic design, they represent you. And so it becomes this distant thing, because psychology has shown us when things are far apart, where it's distal, it's not on our radar. We don't think about it, right? Because it's so far away. And that happens with our team. So you think, oh, Sally in Tennessee is good. We don't have to worry about Sally. I'm here in Florida. She'll be good. And in reality, it then leads to not maintaining or having contracts. And third, because some of you may be thinking, I don't even know where to start, so I don't even know what either of these things even mean. And I understand that. So the third thing is thinking that it's very confusing. The third misconception is that it's very confusing, it's hard, the government's difficult to work with, they want the lowest cost and the lowest price, and I don't really want to work with them to begin with. There's a lot of those kinds of myths of like limiting mindset and actions that are out there. And so therefore a person isn't going to be able to go far if they have that belief. So those are kind of the three kind of areas where they just limit themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know I've always thought about government contracts, but for me, I was like, well, would they really need me? Like, nah, they can do that in house. So I would talk myself out of even trying. Or if once I hear they're like, oh, you have to do a bid, I'm like, I gotta fight for it. Like, how many people do I gotta fight? Is it a pit of money? Like, I don't know what's going on in here. So I always find myself talking myself out of even going through the process. So thank you so much for at least breaking those down, so we can really see that it's really us that's standing in the way of building that kind of a relationship.
So when you're looking at government contracts, do you necessarily have to have that service, or can you go into it with an open mind and just say, what can I apply for?
Yeah, so this is a question that I put back, because I'm asked this all the time. Do you have to have that expertise, or do you have to have experience in that area? So my question back is, do you want to be an entrepreneur, or do you want to be an expert? So if you want to be an expert and your area of expertise is accounting, and the opportunity is to staff religious coordinators, you're not going to bid on that. You're going to say, I just want something related to accounting. If you're taking an entrepreneurial mindset and you're like, hey, I can make money on religious coordinators for Army and Air Force, okay. So if you have that entrepreneurial spirit and that entrepreneurial mindset, what you can do is potentially find someone to fill the position, or the government already may have a person or persons who are filling those roles. So it really depends on the requirement also of that said opportunity, and to Charlene's point about how much work you want to put in. How much work do you really want to put in, and is it worth the payoff for you? Because you're going to have to find the person, you're going to have to make sure they're a good fit, you're going to have to negotiate money, you're going to have to do all of these things. At the end of the day, you're not the Catholic youth coordinator providing the services, someone else is.
Now, if you, let's say, I'm like Lakeisha Bell, where I'm trying to figure out, like, where do I start? Now, I'm on the website. I've kind of figured out a little bit, and I understand. I put in light bulbs, and neon signs came up. But it was just for me to play around and understand, like, just typing in, seeing the results of it. First thing is, when you get to what website should I go to? Let's just start with the basic. What website should I go to?
So you can go to Sam, like Uncle Sam, sam.gov. So you go to sam.gov, and there's an area where you can go to search. And I'm looking down at my phone so I can just walk you guys through some things. But I want to preface this.
Get your phone, everybody. Get your phone.
Get your phone out. But I want to preface this. If this was all you needed to do, then everyone would be in this space. So I want to make it very clear that this is just the technical piece. You really have to think about which approach you want to take. If you want to be an expert or if you want to be an entrepreneur. It's very, very important. So when you're on here, you're going to go to contract opportunities. Under contract opportunities, you're going to...
Wait. Where's that?
Yeah. So contract opportunities, sometimes it's on the left-hand side of the screen. It's underneath the gray that says the official U.S. government system for : and then it says contract opportunities in blue font. And then click on that. And then you're going to see something where it says search contract opportunities, and there's a bar. But I want to share something. The best search engines in this amazing world are Google and YouTube, not sam.gov. Google and YouTube. So therefore, I don't like to use the search box because you're not going to necessarily pull up things. So then you're going to click advanced search, which is on the right-hand side.
So you guys are with us. We're actually on the website. We're doing it together. Sorry to cut you off, Kizzy. So if you want to do this with us, get your phone out, or if you're on a laptop and you have multiple screens, we're at sam.gov. We're going to contract opportunities, and now we're doing advanced search. That's where we're at.
And somebody asked, what's the difference between an expert and entrepreneur? And I'll answer that, and then I'll continue on the search piece. So basically, being an expert is similar to kind of being a gig team member, or like a solopreneur, where there's one thing, maybe a couple of things that you love doing. Maybe you're a technical writer, you're an accountant, you create logos. There's something where you're like, this is what I love doing. You're a trainer, you're a curriculum developer, and you want to get paid for that expertise. So you may already be on Fiverr, Upwork, or you're doing it now, or maybe you're thinking about it, right? Maybe you hate your full-time job and you want to use this, you want to springboard and be able to leave that job to then pursue this other area, right? So in the government space, there are some opportunities like that. There's different ways where you can be an expert and get paid for your expertise. But the sky really opens up when you take the entrepreneurial route. And when you really look at things instead in the sense of, is this something that's of interest? Can I make a profit? And is this something that I could potentially win? Right? So then therefore, maybe your expertise is like mine was, I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. And guess what? Today we inspect vape shops for the FDA. I have no background in that, but I'm an entrepreneur. So it's about, it aligns with who I am. It aligns with wellness. It aligns with inspection and things of that nature. So it's just the little differences. And you can kind of go back and forth. There are people who grow their businesses and they're like, oh my gosh, I had 150, 200 employees. I didn't really want to do it. I just want to be me now. I just want to do the work, right? It's really cool. You can ebb and flow. So when you go back to the screen, if you go under, it says NAICS, that's a NAICS code. And I'm just going to give this one for everyone to type in. There's a whole list of them, but what I want you to type in is 541611. And it's administrative management and general management consulting services.
Now, are we typing that in the search section where we went to advanced?
After you go to advanced, you're going to see an area. I think you got to click on my phone, you got to click the advanced button again. Okay. And you're going to see something that says product or service information. It looks, you can't really tell because I have so much light.
Okay.
And then where it says NAICS, you're going to type in 541611.
This is so good to know. Thank you.
And then what you want to do is then you're going to need to change. There's like a little box. Oops, hold on. Right there. You're going to want to change that drop down to updated date. And the reason for this, because you may already be like, oh my gosh, it takes these bazillion steps just to get this far. Yes, because when it's worth it, it's going to take some steps. That's just how it works in life. And that's what's so great about life, is through technology, you have these opportunities to provide services to the federal government. Number two, it's not YouTube, it's not Google. So therefore, you want to be able to get the most relevant information, and you have to keep in mind it's organized a little different. It's okay. So you're going to want to click updated date. And what you're going to see, for instance, is an opportunity for health and human services. And I picked out admin just to give you an example. And you can see, okay, there's another opportunity here for Department for Air Force, for program administration and admin support. Okay, that's cool. There's another one where they want subject matter expertise for innovation and technology. So you kind of start to see like, oh, wow, there's some pretty cool opportunities here. And this is just taking a couple minutes with one NAICS code, right? And the thing is, the government spends over $500 million a year. I mean, billion, sorry. B is in Bravo. $500 billion a year. And this is just a little bitty slice of what's out there. And maybe you're watching or you're listening and you're like, wow, I could do this. I could fulfill this opportunity for admin. Okay, cool. It's something to look into. What's great and what's helpful, what I want you to get from this is just going through it, is just knowing it's not a perfect system. No system is. And one other kind of best practice in this space, because it talks about, we're talking today about getting your mind right. One way to get your mind right is you have to be resourceful and understand the importance of being resourceful. This is no different than being an entrepreneur where you're selling something on Amazon or you're selling on Etsy or you have a store, a brick and mortar store. You have to be resourceful. And this is the same thing. The big difference is, I'm going to lean in for this. The big difference is, this is for the most part taxpayer dollars. So because these are taxpayer dollars, an agency is very mindful of the spend, of how they allocate these dollars, right? The last thing they want to do is turn on the news and hear about a government contractor who won a big contract and they're out gallivanting, or they sold something to the government that was damaged, right? Those stories exist. They exist all the time. So get comfortable with sam.gov. Keep in mind the resourcefulness. And I'm going to kind of pause here because I've shared a lot of information.
We do have a question, and it was in regards to what's the code for curricular development, or it's just that you just knew that particular job code?
So the code to use 611430.
Can somebody put that in the chat, please, so we can reference it? Anybody who's catching the replay, and if they were looking for a code for curriculum development, they could find that.
Yeah, 611430.
Thank
That's
you.
one to use. Yes. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you. And as I said, make sure you change it from relevant to the updated date, because if not, you're going to start seeing opportunities from 2016. And again, it's okay, right? Because the other thing about, getting your mind right, this one is so important with the federal government. You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible and patient. You have to. This is not a space for being impatient, or you're not flexible, then potentially you may want to go a different route. Maybe you invest in a government contractor. Maybe you partner with someone else, or you something of that nature. But the flexibility and the patience are key, because you're dealing with federal agencies, right? And they're just people. They're people who are serving our amazing country in a civilian role or maybe a military role. And you just have to always keep that in mind.
We appreciate you, Lakeisha. And I just want to say, this is just a taste of what it's like to work with Kizzy. And if you're really interested, you are watching this live right now or catching the replay to this point, and you want to continue and get more one-on-one like this, or join her course, definitely hit up Kizzy, check her out, DM her, blow up her messages, but also know that she is here to help you. This is what she does. Can you tell us a little bit about the services that you provide? Like, let's say I tried it on my own, I watched this live, but I'm just not getting it. How could I work with you?
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you about that. And what I'm going to do is just take a quick, brief step back to just share a little bit about me. I was always just really entrepreneurial. So when I was a little girl, like in elementary school, I would take golf balls from behind my friend's house and clean them and resell them through the fence to golfers to buy Funyuns and Nutty Bars. And I always knew I was going to get a PhD, and I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. But I thought, I'll work in academia. I'll be an entrepreneur when I'm like really old, in my 40s and 50s. I'll do it on the side, right? That's what I was thinking. And lo and behold, when I was a graduate research fellow, I was given the opportunity to be a subcontractor. I received my first contract, which was a little less than 6 figures. And I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to submit an invoice. I actually took out some of my 401k to live off of in the very beginning, just because I didn't know I had to wait 60 days for payment and things of that nature. And so throughout these years of over 10 years of operating my flagship company, my other 2 government contracting companies, I put together this beautiful course to really help, because I noticed that people just get really interesting information in this space. And so I put out there what I actually did and what we do, right? My companies are active. I don't operate them. I own them and things of that nature. So one good place to start is to go to Profitable Contracts with an S, profitablecontracts.co, and you're going to get a really cool PDF for being here today, for participating. It provides some really cool tips on there on like, things to avoid doing, things to do in the government space. And if you're interested in a more intensive kind of experience, then you should check out govconwinners.com. I'm going to kick off my next class the end of January. You get one-on-one time with me in a group, and you really dig deep. And the thing is, I can't emphasize enough, the technical pieces are 20%. It's 20%. You saw the site. I walked you through it. There's tons of videos out there. But again, if it were that easy, then everyone would say, oh, on LinkedIn, hi, I'm a government contractor and I have millions of dollars in contracts. And I promise you, you're not going to see that, because it's way more than that. It's the mindset. It's the political savvy. It's, just that entrepreneurial spirit. It's the marketing. It's really understanding not only your mindset, because we're talking about getting your mindset right, but the mindset of the government buyer. Too many overlook that and just think, oh, well, that's okay. I'm the expert, right? I'm the curriculum developer. I'm the trainer. This is my background. So, I'm the PhD, right? Like, oh, I'm so great. I'm great. We know that. But in the grand scheme of things, my clients, the government agencies, they're number one. They're who we're focused on, and we're here to make their lives easier. So, but definitely check out all of that information. It's a beautiful space to pursue, even if it's just you, or you wish it were more than you. You had other team members.
I kind of want to get into that team members. Yes. And because thing is that you are getting government contracts. You have a team. So, in my mind, I'm like, oh, because she's got government contracts, she didn't have the employee issues. Is that really true?
So when I first started out, it was me. I was doing everything, right? So for a while, it was just me. Then I have employees and I have contractors. I have over 50 team members. So is there a lot of, does my team, I say the word team because it's just the part of our language. It's just what I like to say and how I like to refer to everyone. Do we run into the same issues as other entrepreneurs? Yes. Yes, we do. How do I know this? Because I'm part of a women's group of entrepreneurs in Central Florida. We meet monthly and we have many of the same kind of issues regardless of our area. So the thing about government contracting, and I want to really kind of emphasize this, right? You, whether you're IBM, you're Deloitte, you're Lockheed Martin, you're my flagship company, K Parks Consulting, you are providing, more than likely, a person, an amazing human being, leveraging taxpayer dollars to provide a service. We're not even talking products, right? We're not even going providing a service. It could be repairing a plane. It could be picking up the phone. It could be dealing with your taxes. We're all providing amazing people to work alongside the federal government. So as you can imagine, even in this virtual environment, they're spending most of their time in this government space, right? They're answering the phone. Thank you so much for calling IRS, potentially. Meanwhile, they work for you. So I want to go back to that. Regardless of the size of the company, in the federal space, often we are providing people to work alongside with the federal government, mixed in with the federal government, where they're spending more time there than they are with you. So you may say, well, isn't that staffing? Yes, it's staffing per se. It's staffing, it's augmented staffing, but it's important to keep in mind because your team, your employees, whichever term you use, have to make sure everyone is satisfied and that they're meeting the requirement for everyone. for the IRS per se and for the government contractor.
Hmm.
Right? Because
Right.
you're paying them, but they're working alongside government employees. So it provides this really interesting dynamic that, again, nobody talks about. People don't think about. They're just thinking like, oh, I want to win that contract. I want to get that government money and pay off my debt. Like, okay, that's great. I get it. No, I totally understand that. But it's like you have to keep this in mind, because then you understand the importance of the mindset. Because imagine if you're that person. Imagine that you work alongside government employees for the IRS, but then IBM's cutting your check.
Hmm.
Kind
And
of
you don't
different.
get government perks. You don't get government benefits. You're
Right.
getting the benefits that if you get benefits from them, the contractor who gave you that job.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then sometimes they're there thinking, why can't I just work for the government?
Mm.
The government offers a pension. And to me, it's beautiful. I've had several of our employees obtain government jobs. I love it. I love it, because they are able to receive benefits that I can't offer at this point in time. I can't match that. And it's
So,
beautiful. So it's important to know.
so would you consider that the setup that you're talking about more like a stepping stone into government work if that's what someone wants to do? So
Heck
maybe
yes.
so they're like, oh, eventually I do want to work with the government, but how do I get in? You can get in through a contractor doing great work. Of course, you don't want to be a slacker at that point, but you showing off your skill set, but they're that entryway for you.
Definitely. Definitely. And that's why I mentioned, do you want to be an entrepreneur or an expert? If you're like, look, I'm cool with being an expert. You need a airplane mechanic. I can be your airplane mechanic. And then maybe the Air Force says, hey, by the way, we have a GS 13 or 12 position available, and we would love for you to apply for it. And then there you go. It's very, very common. I've heard this time and time again, where a government employee will pull me aside and say, I love the fact that you're woman owned. And also, by the way, Kizzy, I started out as a contractor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like, over and over and over and over again. So that's a route. And then another route for those who may be listening, often military members who retire, or even government employees who retire, or maybe you have the opposite. I don't want to be in the government anymore. They work for my flagship company. I have several employees who are retired, or they literally just recently left the government and they work as a contractor. So that's also the beautiful thing too, is you have this expertise is highly desired because it's very, very cost effective for the federal government to bring on contractors opposed to having more government positions.
Mm.
Mm.
And that's why they spend over $500 billion every year. And so there's no shortage of need. It's just learning all that kind of goes into this space, if this is a space that you're interested in.
I had another question for that is with working as a government contractor, do you or your staff need to go through certain I guess trainings or some type of learning to understand what you can and cannot do, how you can and cannot use their information? Because sometimes we might go into a job and think, oh, I can download the email app on my phone and I can just it's so much easier to respond to emails. But yeah, you're a government contractor. Can't is it you're doing it differently and and maybe they can confiscate your stuff because you're considered a government employee at that point or a contractor at that point? Are there rules that you're now going to be held to?
So, especially now, many employees, period, government, private sector, higher ed. They can request one's emails at any time or request their work computers. Okay? So I want to put that out there first and foremost. When it comes to the federal government, the answer is it depends. It really depends. In that there are agencies where, even as the owner of my flagship company, I don't provide any services. As the owner of my flagship company, I have to take training. There's cybersecurity. One time I even took training. Oh my gosh. One time I took training on kidnapping and child trafficking, on trafficking.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. That was years ago. But yeah, whatever training that they require, you have to take. Every single one of our clients is different. The Army has different training than the USDA, which is different than the other USDA, which is different than the Navy. So you have the whole, it depends. The second thing is, yes, when it comes to the federal government, with my team, if and when they're issued government equipment, they have to make sure that they follow the rules. They only use it for work, and it's very secure. No different than our IDs. I have a government ID. The same thing goes for that. You're not putting it on Instagram and TikTok and flashing it around everywhere.
Like the stock records.
It's government property. It's, you got to keep that in mind. There's also security clearance requirements, of course. The other thing is, when it comes to the federal government, they do issue phones and iPads. Same thing goes, where you work on those. You can will work sometimes on our personal devices for the agency. It honestly really depends. It really depends on the agency, what you are working on. And then lastly, there are some contracts where my team, they're physically at an agency, even with everything going on. So therefore, they must follow the rules of how you must act on site. So at many government military installations, for instance, you cannot talk on your cell phone and drive. You must follow the speed limits. There's certain insurance you have to have. You need to make sure your car is up to standard. You have to make sure you follow the protocol for when the national anthem comes on. Like, seriously, there's all these things. Again, nobody talks about it. It's like, win the contract, get your money. It's so more than that, right? And so that's why it's not a simple black and white, oh, this is how the government is. It's just like with any other company. It really depends. There's other contracts that we have where they're like, look, we just want some training. Give us the training. We trust you. Give us some training. Okay. And then there are others where they're like, you got to lock up your cell phone. You can't have this. You can't do this. We got to check your car. So it always depends. And that's why that flexibility is key in this space. You can't assume, well, I know the Army. Okay, that's great. But not every single department in the Army is the same. They're just not. I promise you they're not. So
we can't walk around doing behind the scenes IG lives trying to get our numbers up. We have to
yeah,
just trying to make it clear. Just trying to make it clear.
Not that kind of business happens on my IG live. We keep it,
I wouldn't do that. I mean, because then it just, and that's also why even government employees will have they use two email addresses.
Oh.
Because they can request their government emails, but if they use their Gmail, they can't request that because it's their personal email. Yeah. Or you call them on their cell phone. So again, this works two ways. That's why I bring this up. It's overall, when you are connected to an employer, be it government, private, higher ed, they can request your information. They can request your emails. They can request certain things from you. When you're going outside, now it's a different kind of ball game. May I address one thing in that
Sure.
you have Mr. John Lewis. He made a remark here about I will be the government philosopher, and I want to share something
So
because
fast.
I didn't even know about this. The I know at one point the Army hired these type of positions. A highly qualified subject matter expert.
Nice.
They paid six figures. Typically, they were 1 to 2 years, and often you literally worked for the Army as a highly qualified subject matter expert.
Hmm.
And so, be it philosophy, science, psychology, whatever it is that they are looking for, they would pay for. And the same goes for government contracting. There are many levels of subject matter expertise that they're seeking. And so again, that's what I love about this space is if you want to go niche and you want to go that expert route, you can. If you want to say, hey, I want to be like IBM, and I'll share with you why I reference them a lot. If you want to be like Lockheed Martin and these others, you can do that too and bid on a bunch of different work and have different work. One of the reasons I use the word IBM a lot is because we partner with them on work outside of the federal government. And many of these companies, because it's not like super sexy, they have staffing contracts. They have the type of contracts I'm talking about, but people don't think of janitorial work in IBM. Nobody thinks that,
Hmm.
but they do. But it's there's a lot of opportunities in this space.
And I see a lot of government contractors, people who have worked with the government, who have joined us. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for joining Sip and Chat with Sri and Charlene and our special guest, Kizzy. And Kizzy, I saw someone, I don't want to get the name wrong. Chuck. Chuck says he can't wait to get started with you in January.
I can't wait either. It's going to be fun. It's good. You know what's really good about this, Chuck, and for everyone else listening or watching, you get me. You get me. It's before I make it evergreen and you're going to get recordings. You get me. And this is the time to take advantage of me because you're not going to get me unless you're willing to hire me one-on-one for coaching. And it's only because there's a lot of just different endeavors I'm going into because remember, I have 3 government contracting companies that are doing amazing things in this space, right? And so now I get to do all these things that make me so happy and to help people and to do all these things. So check out govconwinners.com for more information on the class. Govconwinners.com. But I know there was a little question up there.
Me, I
About
want to
Yes,
know
ma'am.
what are the things that you love to do outside of government contracts that you have your like what's in your heart that you're like I want to start to tap into. I love government contracts, but there's more and I would love to please share with us what is it?
Coffee. I'm going to start a coffee company. I
nice.
actually have my samples here. I have 6 bags and I have 3 more coming.
Okay.
So it's going to be coffee, inspiration, entrepreneurial something. I have no idea, but that's one thing I'm doing. I'm going to start my nonprofit soon. Everything is possible. So that's kind of there. That's all I'll say about that. There's let's see. There's some other ideas that I have. I'm super duper entrepreneurial. So there's always going to be something. There's no other way to put it. Like I've just always been wired this way. Like recently my aunt was like, I remember you were sitting on the floor and your brothers needed batteries and you told them that they could buy them from you. And like I did, like I was hustling stuff all of the time. Like all of the time. And I just always think in this mindset of business. It's just how my brain works.
I love it. I love it. So we're
Yes.
going to ask you one more time. Tell us where can we go if and about when is the last date that we can sign up for your class that starts at the end of January?
Okay, so I haven't. So okay, go and you're gonna have to like type it all out. Sorry, y'all. Don't come after me. You can DM me if you need to. The course is on www.govconwinners.com, and you're gonna see this beauty here. You
I
know,
love it.
you'll see. But seriously, check out govconwinners.com. I'm probably going to keep it open until maybe a day or two. I mean, but there's going to come a point it's going to close, and then that's it. You get all of this. You get so much detail. We're going to actually submit a proposal. It's more than just 3-minute YouTube videos of this is what you do and I look cute on the video. You're going to get real information, real templates that have led to winning these contracts, still winning these contracts. My flagship company was just awarded 4 full-time equivalents with the Navy. So
Wow.
these are things that we do. I put all this together in the class. You can DM me here on LinkedIn. Like Chuck pointed out, we had an awesome call, and either you'll chat with me or my amazing sales guy, David. But in the class, you get me. We'll have special guests too. More than likely, I will bring in my director of getting things done, Lori, because she's amazing at client relations. I may bring in someone to talk from the government standpoint, because that's also missing often in this space, is other entrepreneurs talk about what's there, but you also need to hear from the government's perspective. Oh, thank you so much for the kind words, Miss Emily. I really appreciate that. Then let's see. What else would you like me to share?
I would definitely love to know, for you, what was, I guess, the pivotal moment that you knew now it's time to go after your other dreams, the other
Oh,
goals that you wanted. So when you knew, yes, now I'm going to go after and do my coffee. I'm going to open up my nonprofit. When did you know you were comfortable in this space so now you can branch off and do something else?
two things. One, several years ago, I started getting things together to go after what's called an ISO certification. So basically, ISO certifies that you have a quality management process procedures in place. So what that really boiled down to was I had to take everything in my head and put it into paper and ensure that my team had a clear understanding of expectations. We call them KPC ways, all of the KPC ways, and everything that they need to run with the company. So did that, obtain the ISO certification. Then I'm still in the middle of it, going through lockdown, and lockdown really, I went through a lot. Like I got divorced. I lost weight again. I went super blonde. Ooh, my hair was cute. But the one of the things that really stood out, the second thing, because I said there were two, right? One was the ways. The second was I was just so sad. I was like crying and I was sad. I was like really like for real, like sad, like my black hoodie sad. Like I looked great.
Mm.
I was really, really sad. And I was just like, why am I so sad? I don't understand why I'm so sad. Because I was so unhappy because this has been amazing, right? It's such a blessing. But it was this piece of me that was almost kind of put on me. And so I was like, well, what do I really want? Right? Because I've been doing this for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what do I really, really want? And I'm like, well, I want to motivate and inspire. And on Instagram, I usually release an inspirational quote or two every day. I love coffee. I got really big into siphon coffee and Chemex coffee and coffee from Yemen and this coffee and Colombian this and geisha Colombian. I mean, I'm like a coffee snob. It's gotten nuts. So then I was like, what else makes me happy? I'm like, ooh, there's, the whole adult novelty business makes me happy, which is very fitting given the announcement Playboy made with Cardi B. And that's something that people need to realize, really need to realize there's these other entrepreneurial endeavors that people have on LinkedIn. They may not put them out there the way you think, but there's so many different markets out there. So I was like, ooh, there's so many things out there that I want to explore. So I got to a point, talked to my team, and that's just was able to make it happen because they provide all the services. I don't do. I'm not involved in client delivery. I haven't been involved in client delivery in a long, long time, unless it was a situation where I was mentoring and teaching. That's it.
Got
That's it. Because I know my strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes, I am not the person for that engagement. And I know that, and I'm okay with that. I shouldn't be that. That's not my wheelhouse anymore.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing Shantae says, when she goes to Florida, y'all need to have that coffee. And she also has a podcast. Um, and I thought that was an interesting name. Coffee with the neurologist. Is that what that was? Or am I saying
Yes.
yes? Yes, that's her podcast.
Neuroscientist. She is
Yes. So I'm like,
she's
okay.
fire. She's fire. Yes, please connect with me. She is spectacular. I just want to say, like others who are watching, Shantae took that leap. Because whether you pursue government contracting, you open up a cookie shop, or you open up a shop on Etsy or Upwork or, Fiverr, you have to take that leap. And it involves a bit of being fearless for at least a few moments, right? And so she did that. She did that several years ago, and she's still at it. So that's what's great. That is what's so amazing in this space of just being an entrepreneur.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kizzy, for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for showing up for another episode of Sip and Chat with Sri and Charlene, LinkedIn After Dark, where maybe what's in our cup should not always be called out, but we're going to say it anyway. We're going to
It was
enjoy it.
it was a hot chocolate cold. That's what I loved it.
So definitely, especially because it's winter season, if you guys know that there is a nice cocoa or something else that keeps you warm in your cup, feel free to let us know in the chat. We want to know what you're sipping on as we get our chat on. Thank you all.
And I would also like to put out there anybody with ideas of who and what you would like to learn. We would like to bring that person on, just like we did with Kizzy. We broke it down. We went, we actually looked up how to look up a government contract on the website. And so if this is something that you would like, if other guests, let us know, and I'll start looking for those individuals, connecting with them, asking the network, who should we, to get in front of that person, because we're here for you. If you're not connected with either one of us, you can go ahead, and especially you want to learn more about government contracts, you can connect with Kizzy Parks. If you want to learn about how to revamp your website, my girl here, Charlene, will tell you how to do that. And she partnered with Rob. So kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, well, I first want to say thank you for those who showed up for that. We did a couple of live breakdowns for different websites, and we're helping right then and there. So we got feedback of people who actually started seeing changes within a few days. It wasn't even a week. It was a few days they started seeing the actual results. So the website Rehab is all about Rob and I bringing our skill set, me and him helping you not only do the layout of your website, but actually breaking down your copy, helping you simplify it and really touching the visitors who come to your website, because your website is the foundation of your marketing. So allow it to work for you and not against you. So that's why we really dig deep into it, and we focus on WordPress. So when we're walking you through how to set things up, it's going to be on WordPress, but definitely dig deep into the process of it and the principles, and you will have your site up in less than 7 days.
Love it. Love it. And
Yes.
if you want to do lives like this or get comfortable telling and sharing your story in front of a camera, I would love to be able to help you. I have a group coaching course, and I also have a 21-day video challenge. And the next group will start January 3rd. We're going to start the year off right. So you can start, if you're interested, just DM me and I'll get you more information about that.
Yeah,
And
and you
Kizzy,
can see
just
her break it down all the time on her Instagram live.
Yeah.
Just go there. It's what, 7 p.m.
Eastern
Yes,
Standard
7
Time,
p.m.
6
Yes,
p.m. Central
she is
Standard
amazing.
Time. Thank you. But before we end for the night, Kizzy, do you have any last words for us?
Okay. First, I must say thank you, amazing ladies, for having me. Thank you both for having me, and this is an honor. Thank you all for watching live for the replay. Also, want to just shout out Mr. Durr. I see you there. Thank you for the comment. That's very nice of you. I just want to leave you with this, that this is definitely an overlooked space. And I think of it often like the cereal aisle. And this is not to downplay the federal government, but just kind of go with me on this journey, right? So think about the last time you were physically in a store. And if you go into a big grocery store, you go in that cereal aisle, oh my goodness, it is it's overwhelming. You don't how many
Mhm.
chocolate and wheat and square and circle and how many variety of cereals are there? A lot. There's so
Mhm.
many that it can be overwhelming. It can be super super overwhelming. And often that's how many will view the federal government. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. They spend so much money. There's so many things I can do. You could be an entrepreneur. You could be an and it seems overwhelming, but that's why I'm here. And that's why I suggest you check out profitablecontracts.co, profitablecontracts.co. So I'm here to help walk you through it if you want that assistance, because I promise you, a person who never served in the government, the military, never worked for the federal government, not married to anyone connected to the federal government, and have been awarded over $50 million in contracts, there's a reason for it, and I'm here to help, to provide any kind of information, and always know everything is possible. Everything is possible. That mindset is key. Going in, realizing, knowing this is possible, you're going to make it possible. If you're going to go in there, oh, this is not possible, this is going to be horrible, it's going to be horrible, right?
Mhm.
So, positive mindset, everything is possible, world of abundance, you are going to succeed because you're already succeeding because you're here. You're here
Yeah.
and you're watching and you're listening. So, you're a superstar,
Well,
Yeah.
thank you
So
so
don't
much,
go in
Kizzy.
with the enemy of the state mindset.
right?
Anything, we can do anything. So I just want to say thank you, viewers, and thank you to those who are catching this replay. We appreciate you. And until our next live, have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you
Night.
all. Thank you.
Bye.